Let's open what may be the most explosive file since the start of this war in terms of espionage and revelation.
It's a massive, very serious leak for Germany.
A scandal is erupting after the Kremlin intercepted a conversation between 4 German officers discussing the destruction of the Crimean bridge. The German Ministry of Defense validates the truth, at least of the recording, first broadcast by Russian propagandist Margarita Simonian.
The discussion centers on the Crimean bridge's destruction.
It's about whether the German Taurus could destroy it.
Listen. I can quickly add this about the bridge's destruction.
We've studied it very closely, and the bridge, unfortunately, because of its size, looks like a landing strip. That means I might need 10 or 20 missiles.
There is a possibility that the Taurus will be able to bring down the bridge if you aim for the pillars.
All they can do is make a hole and damage the bridge, and before making big announcements, we need to... I'm not defending the idea of the bridge. I just want to know what they want. What exactly do they want? At what speed will we be able to train them? So we will need to give them the centralized mission planning data on images. We also need to provide them with target data. We have them. But when it comes to such small goals, a little more precision is needed than on the dashboard.
When it comes to confirmed goals, everything is easier and relatively quick to plan.
Hello, Xavier Tytelman.
We are delighted to have you to try to untangle the truth from the false in all of this. We recall that according to Margarita Simonian, head of RT Rochette Houdet, who made her recordings public, and we will see her tweet in a moment, these are plans to attack the Kerch Bridge with Taurus missiles. It's more complicated than that, right, Xavier? Yes, indeed. So in addition, I will specify I was a mission planner on Rafale, and in there, that's exactly what they're talking about. They are talking about how they are preparing, yes or no, the ability of the Ukrainians to potentially shoot at the bridge, subject to, of course, they have to transfer the missiles. They need to understand that there are systems in which mission preparation software, it's quite complex. The Ukrainians need to be trained to use it. That, in principle, is a transfer that is not complicated. It's computers, but then the missiles themselves need to have a sort of global database in which the terrain, the targets, the objectives are recorded, for example, with photos that allow for image recognition before going to strike it. So it's more on this technical element. I get the impression they are discussing, do we provide the Ukrainians with both the database, the mapping, the very precise global positioning system positions, and then another problem arises. If it's fired from the Sukhoi 24, it's in the Ukrainian Soviet devices that are used today to launch the French Scalp missiles. There is a precision that is not sufficient. That is to say, there are no inertial navigation systems and hybrid global positioning systems as we have with our planes, and so there is a deviation that can be 1, 2, 3 meters on the target, which is enough to hit a bridge on the deck, but which is not necessarily enough to hit the pillars.
To my knowledge, this is why the Ukrainians have not targeted the pillars of the Crimean bridge to destroy it, despite having the capacity to hit nearby, as they have done before.
In reality, a leaked technical discussion between officers reveals their attempts to circumvent the co-belligerence that the German Chancellor strongly opposes.
In reality, that's exactly what it's about. You confirm it.
Co-belligerence, in any case, it does not exist. We just provide equipment, the Ukrainians are free to use it. When the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics provided weapons to Vietnam or North Korea, it was never at war with the United States. We are conducting a logistical operation to provide equipment to an attacked ally. We will not be co-belligerent unless our soldiers use the weapons themselves. We could be on the ground for demining, for training, for rescue. We would still not be co-belligerent as long as we do not have a NATO soldier, French, German, who presses a button to kill a Russian. However, Olaf Scholz accused us of co-belligerence in so many words at the beginning of the week.
We will revisit this and hear it again.
One of the recordings broadcast by Margarita Simonian also mentions gusts. We must be cautious as this recording and translation are unconfirmed at present, according to Xavier Tytelman. Yes, however, the idea of integrating the Taurus into the Rafale so that it's the French, because we have no reason to transfer Rafales to Ukraine. We already lack fighter planes, so there's no chance we'll integrate this missile to be able to fire it later. France has the capability to destroy the Crimean bridge using Rafale jets and Scalp missiles without needing the Taurus missile if it chose to do so.
And that's a written transcription. There's no oral in that field.
So, in my opinion, it's totally false and it's totally impossible in the state of affairs. France will not become a co-belligerent. There, for the record, it would be co-belligerence. She will not transmit any gust, and we do not integrate the Taurus on the gust. It is indeed in a context we remember, of course, where Olaf Scholz suddenly explains in passing that France and the UK, by the way, are much more involved than we had said in this war in Ukraine. It was at the beginning of the week. We listen again to the German Chancellor after, of course, the statements of Emmanuel Macron talking about the possible sending one day of troops to Ukraine. We listen again to Olaf Scholz. It is a weapon of very long range. And what the British and the French do in terms of target control and target accompaniment cannot be done in Germany. Everyone who has dealt with this system knows it. What Ukraine lacks are ammunition at all possible ranges, but certainly not this ammunition from Germany.
Xavier Tytelman's statements put Olaf Scholz in a difficult position.
No, it also means that we are capable with our technology of providing a missile that would not have certain targets. That is to say, we would be capable, for example, of removing Russia, Belarus from our system. What the Germans may not be able to do? I don't know the technical elements he has at his disposal to explain that, but us, when we provide a system, the public doesn't have this information either, Xavier. What he hears is what we all hear, that we are more involved in designating these targets than previously disclosed. He's saying France can provide a system allowing Ukrainians to be autonomous without needing to control their actions, while having the ability to remove unsuitable targets. The American SOL systems, such as IMARS, were supplied with a restriction preventing them from entering global positioning system coordinates within Russian territory.
The Americans have restricted their IMARS systems for use only in occupied Ukrainian territory.
It's certainly the same thing that we are capable of doing with our missiles, but the Germans may not be able to do on their side.
And a small distinction also, Olaf Scholz does not oppose the supply of Taurus systems.
He says he doesn't want German soldiers to be associated with the destruction.
In other words, as of now, they cannot provide a system that would make Ukrainians fully autonomous. Maybe that's the distinction. They cannot transmit certain technical elements from their database. Maybe that's what you understand, Xavier. It's because everyone has understood, I repeat Olaf Scholz's words, what the British and the French are doing in terms of target control and target support cannot be done in Germany.
Patrick, go thrust.
Target control can simply be the exclusion of certain targets because we forbid in our software to aim at them. He gave more precision, Olaf Scholz, on this opposition, which we were questioning with Xavier Tytelman in particular.
Let's listen to Olaf Scholz.
It's a weapon that's not even the most powerful.
Like Taurus?
But the Taurus has a 500-kilometer range.
And if this range is misused, it can hit a specific target somewhere in Moscow. It's a weapon for which the question of what we're going to do with it and how to use it cannot be taken lightly. He suggests that the weapon may not be the most powerful, implying that Ukrainians might not require it significantly.
Well, Xavier Tytelman, what do you think of what we just heard? In fact, we have restricted the range of our missiles, the French with the Scalp and the British with the Storm Shadow, so that they cannot exceed 300 kilometers.
We too can have missiles that go up to 500 kilometers, but within the framework of non-proliferation treaties for strategic weapons, we have reduced them. Could Germany's reluctance to provide missiles to Russia be due to their inability to reduce the missile range? This might explain their stance, especially since Russia no longer respects international rules and has violated past treaties. It was a bit more implicit before, this risk that Moscow could be hit by the Ukrainians. He clearly states that he doesn't want the missiles to be used to attack Moscow. To your knowledge, in your memory, had it already been said in this way, but the Ukrainians have been hitting Moscow for over a year now, with their locally made system. They have developed an evolution of the S-200 system that allows them to fire at 600 kilometers. The Ukrainians have used it. It's Russia that gives these distances. So the Ukrainians are fully capable of hitting Moscow with their own equipment.
So far, they have fully respected all our requests.
They have never used the weapons we provided them to strike Russian territory.
They have restricted themselves to the occupied Ukrainian regions.
And today, I think that Germany is not technically capable of restricting this ability to target Russian territories. That's what bothers them today. They could also trust the Ukrainians. Maybe that's not enough. Yes, maybe not, indeed.